You are listening to an update from Washington with the Congressman from Alabama's 1st Congressional District, Bradley Byrne. Now from our nation's capital, Congressman Byrne.
Welcome into this week's edition of an update from Washington. I'm Seth Morrow, joined by Congressman Bradley Byrne, and today we're going to be talking about Obamacare. Now, earlier this year, Congressman, I know the House passed a bill that you introduced that would repeal Obamacare in its entirety. Why did you think that was important?
Well, I'm hearing so many complaints from people around our district about what it's done to their deductibles, what it's done to what they have to pay in premiums for their health insurance, and what it's done to their access to health care. So I think it's so fundamentally flawed, I don't think we can fix it, but I think the most important thing we do is repeal it altogether.
What are some of the most common concerns you hear from constituents?
Well, people all the time tell me that when they go to get their insurance, they find out that what they've got to pay for it has gone up substantially. But the biggest concern I hear is that people say that their deductibles have gone up so high that it effectively makes it unaffordable for them to go and get just basic health care. So those two together, I think, are the biggest concerns, although I have heard from some people saying that it had a pretty big limiting effect on where they could get their health care from. So it doesn't matter which of those is happening. Any one of those is enough to make it where we need to fix it.
Now, the Obama administration originally said about 21 million people would be signed up for Obamacare by 2016. Now that number's been reduced to more like 10 million. Why do you think that discrepancy exists?
Because the people that they hoped were going to sign up didn't sign up. I mean, essentially, we know by looking at the demographics on the 10 million people that did sign up is that they are the sickest and the poorest of the group. So people that aren't as sick, mainly younger people, and people that aren't poor haven't signed up. So think about it. 10 million people, there are over 300 million people in America. That means that less than 2 or 3% of the people in this country were really affected by this in a positive way, if that is a positive way. But all the rest of us have been affected in a negative way. And that's the real problem. We've hurt 80% of us that were fine to fix the problem for about 3% of us.
And your bill, which would have repealed Obamacare, has kind of gotten stuck in the Senate where it takes 60 votes to move any major legislation. But now the House is going to try, in the Senate, a new method known as reconciliation. How does that work?
Well, it's part of the procedural way that the Senate works, that we can send a bill, the House can send a bill over there that the Senate can take up on just 51 votes. They don't have to have 60 votes. But in order to do that, you have to have the parliamentarian of the Senate say that certain parts are in order and certain parts aren't in order. The parts that aren't in order you can't put in the bill. So we've gone over there and worked with the parliamentarian of the Senate and got him to agree that there are certain parts of Obamacare and this defunding of Planned Parenthood that we can get through budget reconciliation to the floor of the Senate without having to get 60 votes. So this week the House is going to act on such a bill that will substantially take a lot of the support out from under Obamacare. And though it's not the full repeal that I'd like to see, I think it's a very, very, very important good step, and I'm looking forward to voting on it.
So this would effectively send a bill to President Obama's desk that would dismantle Obamacare and eliminate funding for Planned Parenthood. What do you think the president would do with it?
Well, I think he's going to veto it, and that's fine. I mean, I understand he's the president of the United States. He has the power to veto. But then we get to go to the people of the United States who we know don't want Obamacare, and we know don't want Planned Parenthood to be getting all this money, and say, look at what has happened here. And it gets to be part of a national debate. And I think it's an appropriate part of the national debate now and going into next year with all the elections we have next year.
And finally, obviously you have to come behind Obamacare with something else, some other form of health care. What do you believe that's important that health care system have?
Well, we need to put patients and the people that are buying this insurance, you and me, in control of their own health care. And that means we let you buy your insurance from whomever, wherever, however you want to buy, instead of saying you can only buy insurance from an insurance company in Alabama. So I think I want to make sure we empower the people that live in my district so they can make their own decisions without the federal government telling them what to do.
Well, thank you for this update. I'm sure you'll keep us posted.
Well, as always, I appreciate people listening in. It's very important for us to have this. So please call into our office in Mobile or in Summerdale or go online at burn.house.gov and let us hear from you.
You have been listening to an update from Washington with Congressman Bradley Byrne. Congressman Byrne encourages you to contact him with any comments or questions. You can email him online at burn.house.gov or find him on Facebook under U.S. Representative Bradley Byrne. Stay tuned to this station next week for another timely report from our nation's capital. This broadcast has been pre-recorded.